Hi, today we are with Leon Lee, the CEO and founder of the Only1 NFT, who's it's quite stirring up quite a lot of news. There's a lot of buzz around Only1. They've recently doing their IDO, and they are built on Solana. Yeah, Leon, I think the best way to kind of introduce to get into this is just like, yeah, if you can give your background in terms of who you are, what you've been doing, and then how did you get into this current project, Only One?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. First of all, pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Name is Leon. I'm the founder and CEO of Only1. So first, I'll give you like a quick background on myself. I was actually trained as a genetic engineer a couple years ago. I mean, a few years ago, and my first project was in biotech. So I kind of come from different background. And after that, I've been joining different startups, mostly in software in Hong Kong, and self-taught programming. Also invested in a few ICOs around 16, 17. Most of those investments did unfortunately go to zero, which got me really interested into the space because a lot of the white papers back then, I think if you dig deeper, the product sometimes don't really need blockchain to exist, and I think that we're starting to see that trend now as well, and we can get more into that later. So always wanted to build something in this space, just kind of been waiting for an opportunity or an idea. And so earlier this year, we noticed the boom of the NFT market, right? Like the sales volume on OpenSea's Rarible, I think, went up by like 3,000%. And that got a lot of retail investors interested on what NFTs are and what it can do. However, personally, like we think that the NFT market is in somewhat of a bubble, right? And what I mean by that is um, NFT as collectibles as a trend is going to slow down because I think there's no real tangible value. However, I think NFT, right, as a unique digital identifier can actually serve a much wider function than just being a collectible across like different verticals as well. So I think the future of NFT is going to be heavily dependent on its function and its utility inside the platform. So we're already starting to see that trend happening with like, for example, gaming space like Axis Infinity has been one that's been really like taking the spotlight lately with their play to earn model. And I think that makes a lot of sense to me because, video gamers, they do truly value ownership of in-game items. And that as a NFT application does make a lot of sense to me. And we try to look for other verticals, or I guess existing business models in real life that can benefit from NFTs. And one of the things we looked at was social space. Social space has always been inseparable from creators, art, like community. So that's all what NFT is all about. And so more specifically, we're looking at the issues in the current creator economy, right? And so that's where only one comes in. Like traditionally in social media, I think it's been quite a wide-known fact that these big incumbents are monetizing user data heavily, and also the content creators themselves. Some of them are doing this as a full-time job. They're not getting compensated correctly. They do have to go through a lot of gatekeepers, like YouTube has a very high rate of demonetization, for example. They're very sensitive to censorships. And if you want to monetize as a small to medium sized influencer, you do have to go through third parties like uh, sponsorships, drop shipping, affiliate links, merchandise sales, all that stuff. So this is why most of the creators nowadays do resort to solutions like Patreon, which basically is a tool to help them monetize. But so we want to do this in a different way using Web3, building on Solana. So I would love to get into more details later if you guys have any questions for now.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest questions is why Solana? Why because a lot of Web3 is being built on Ethereum. Solana is definitely coming up. I know quite a bit about it. I'm very excited for it. But what was your decision around that? And I suppose we can explore that now.
Yeah, so I think to answer that question, I'll talk about the industry as a whole first. So I think crypto back in 16, 17, most of the users are generally using different applications as like a way to means to make money, right? Like they're all just moon boys. They get in different platforms. They try to jump between like different DeFi projects and make money. But I think we're getting to a point where decentralized applications can actually have utility that solves problems that gives value more than just um, like trading different tokens. And that by that I mean consumer apps, right? So to have a real like functioning consumer app, I think it needs to have enabling microtransactions, right? And as a social media, I think we do need to reach that network effect, meaning the value of the network increases as the number of participants increases. So scalability is one thing that we really heavily look into when we chose the underlying blockchain to build this upon. And if every underlying transaction costs the user like $50 or more, then the platform's just never going to scale. So that's why we looked into Solana because of its scalability. Um, I guess just to give you guys like a scope of how scalable Solana actually is, right? Because everyone's saying, oh, 65,000 transaction per second, but how does that translate to real life, right? So, for example, we did raise our seed round funding um, back then led by Alameda Research. We do have about 920 different addresses to send tokens to, and we need to send tokens to these addresses every day for 3 years, right? If we were to do this on Ethereum, it's going to cost us somewhere between $5 to $10 million. And doing this on Solana is going to cost us 250. So that is a very disruptive difference. So this is why we're very bullish on Solana. And if you were to look at other factors of a blockchain, right, like you got the blockchain trilemma of scalability. Other than that, you have security and decentralization. On those regards, I think Solana is doing quite well as well. So that's the main reason why we picked Solana.
Is that $250 or is that $250,000?
$250.
Oh wow. Okay.
So,
Yeah,
4 or
that's
5 orders of magnitude difference.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. And just to get stuck into another, meaty point is you mentioned staking and you mentioned that none of your competitors is allowing staking. Could you explain what is staking and why this is so important in the creator economy?
Okay, I think that's a good question. And again, I would like to go back in history just a little bit to answer that.
Mhm.
So, I think Web3 as a solution to existing social media has been an ideal that's been around since early in the blockchain industry, right? So even if you go back to the last bull run, you can see projects like Steemit, Mithril, Gifto. These guys, they basically try to reward content creators for producing good quality content, and they don't really exist anymore. And the reason for that is, I think, is based in the tokenomics. So they tend to give out reward to good content creators, but they don't really have a true utility to its token, which over a long run, especially after the bear market, they don't have as much of a market share. And as you know, like your your backholder tend to become your user as well, right? So that's a problem. And that gave rise to like the second generation of Web3 social media platforms. Like we have BitClout, Roll, Rally, User, all of that. Most of them have a function called creator tokens, or more generally speaking, social currencies. So they have separate pools of fungible tokens for users to trade uh, for each of the creators. So that is actually quite smart because from an economical standpoint, they did decouple the inflation factor of the previous social media platforms. And so, it doesn't matter how many creators they bring in, how much tokens users buy and trade. It doesn't really affect the circulating supply of their platform token, right? So I think that's quite a genius solution to the existing problem. But also, I think on the other hand, it's expecting users to trade these tokens based on the popularity rise of those creators, right? So it's kind of like leveraging social media to do more trading. So I think it's not really putting social engagement in priority. So what we're trying to do here is through NFTs and staking pools, we want to prioritize real social engagement because without content creators posting content and users consuming those content, our NFTs and our staking pools are not going to be that valuable. And I can get into that more in detail in a second. So the staking aspect, right? On our platform, it actually serves as a rather different form of governance. So on social media platforms, as you know, like cyber safety, I would say, is a very important factor. So community guideline needs to be implemented, and on centralized social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, for example, they have a huge team of people just, and probably AI as well, just to scan for like, racism, violence, gory stuff, or hateful languages, and they will try to ban those before they get to the public, right? So on our platform, the DAO members, the stakers, become our sort of if you want to call them like validators, right? You can have them vote up or vote down certain creator or their content. And then if a creator has a lot of downvotes on their content from our stakers, who are basically helping us enforce the community guideline, then the reward for those creators will be heavily slashed. The concept is very similar to like the proof of stake consensus mechanism. We're just giving this like a different fancy name. We call this proof of content. Yeah.
Just I noticed you mentioned there the model around having like the social token. Looking through here, you guys have a slightly different model. Looks like it's based around this idea of a Genesis NFT. Can you explain what that is and how that's sort of different from the previous generation of social tokens?
Yeah, for sure. So every creator has their own staking pool, starting with that. So the staking pool has an APY, a return rate, right? Like an annual percentage yield. This APY correlates with the creator's activity across social platforms. So the more active a creator is, the higher the APY, the more likely users will stake token in his or her pool. And then every creator also have one special NFT. We call it the Genesis NFT. And these creators can associate perks with these NFT. For example, if you are a top trader, for example, you can say, whoever owns my Genesis NFT, I will mentor you on trading, or I will give you trading tips, something like that. And that's giving the user access, right? And the second layer of that is the Genesis NFT holder and as well as the creator, they both earn a small percentage of the staking pool of that creator. So basically, the more engaging and active the creator is, the more this person and also the Genesis NFT owner earns.
Yeah, I think that's pretty comprehensive in terms of what staking is. Going back to your earlier statement regarding the whole NFT market in as a whole, you mentioned it was a sort of a it was a sort of a what was the term?
Um,
You basically think utility based NFTs are the way forward.
yeah.
You know, I think going forward, where do you kind of see NFTs within the creator economy? Like, do you see everything will be an NFT, or do you think that certain pieces of art are going to be an NFT? Like, what's your kind of opinion on that, and how does that relate back to your, platform?
Yeah, give me 1 second to think about that. So I think to answer that question, I think we need to look at how current NFTs are being valued, like who are actually buying and what are they buying, right? Like, first of all, do you know how much it costs to have to start your own generative NFT drop?
I mean, it can
Can you
vary.
guess?
Like, I know people that are paying, artists like $1 million, for instance, and I know others are, like, are charging. I mean, it depends. It really depends on a lot of
Yeah,
things.
of course. I guess the bare minimum is around like $3,000 to $5,000, right? You can white label some smart contract and a website that can allow you to mint, and you can have an artist creating generative art for you, the script to actually generate those art and mint the NFT. So it only costs around less than $5,000, and in the current market, people are just very euphoric about buying NFTs. So even generally, NFT projects with not that good of an art, they can still sell out. But the question is, how long does it take to sell out? And to sell out 10,000 mints, even if they were to cost like half a Solana each, that's probably like around $1 million, right? So looking at the discrepancy between the effort and the reward, I think it's a very um, it's a very bullish market to say the least. And so I think the role of NFT in the creator economy market in the future Um, like, I think this is again personal opinion. I think NFTs with a good secondary market are not the ones created as like one-offs by certain creator, but rather they are coming from a collection where people know there is like a tokenomics behind it, and that there are certain like utility of that NFT, whether it's just membership like Board Ape Yacht Club, or it's like access to creators like Gary Vee's VFriends. So I think those guys are going to have like a more sustainable long-term valuation. And certain collectibles, though, I think have achieved the sort of OG status in the industry, like Solana Monkey Business, Board Ape, CryptoPunks. Personally, I think these guys are going to be around like basically forever, and it's kind of like a cultural revolution as well, where they kind of symbolizes the whole concept of blockchain, about like decentralization, like um, and like yeah, I think it just vibes very well with like the new generation of I guess the internet, and I think the general consensus now is if you can afford one, you should get one. Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question perfectly, but let me know if you have like other thoughts.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that kind of succinctly summarizes that aspect. Um, in terms of you know NFTs in as a whole, I suppose. How well integrated are they going to be in Solana? Are they just going to be like very rare things, or is every single piece of content that someone makes on your platform an NFT, for instance? And then I suppose the next question is around, are these going to be interoperable? Are they going to be across the chain, or are they just going to be primarily on Solana?
Mm. Are you asking about generally speaking, like Solana NFTs, or are you talking about like Only1 NFTs?
So with Only1 NFTs is because we've talked to a few other platforms, and we're familiar with a few other platforms, and essentially they say that every single like piece of content that they put up is being minted as an NFT. I'm not sure directly how you guys will tackle that.
Yeah, so I think we're not focusing on letting people just mint random images into NFTs. I think that market is very crowded. And our NFT is a little different, right? So there's two types of NFTs on Only1. The first type is called Genesis NFT, as I explained. It sort of almost acts as like a partnership contract between you and the creator, where you guys share the future revenue and you get special access to them. So it's kind of different. It's not so much about the artwork. And the other type of NFT is what we call content NFTs on our platform. So these are basically premium content, and these are locked, meaning you can't see them until you pay for it. Um, so how it works is, for example, let's use a different example. You are a fitness trainer, and you released your personal training guide or diet guide, right? And so that is premium content that you wish people pay for. You release it as a locked premium NFT, content NFT. And so I'm your biggest fan, and I want to learn this strategy that you have. So I would pay, I don't know, like $5,000 to buy this NFT off you, and now I'm the owner. And now other people say, Patrick, he wants to look at this program as well, but he doesn't want to buy the whole NFT off me, then he can just pay an unlocking fee, say $5, right? And he can see the NFT, but he doesn't own it. But then the unlocking fee will then be split between the original creator, you, and the NFT owner, which is me, right? So this is like every time a creator posts exclusive content, it's an opportunity for the community to invest as well as for the creator to monetize.
So in a sense, it's like it's almost like renting instead of owning, in the sense that the like second level sort of content buyer or purchaser, the person
Yeah.
who's just unlocking it versus buying it, they just get to use it, and then it's
Yeah.
not theirs to then go and do anything with.
Yeah, essentially. And earlier you mentioned cross-chain compatibility. Personally, that's something that I'm really waiting for. So that's not our main focus right now, but I think in the future, if we were to see like, NFT sharing liquidity with like other ecosystems, I think that could be something really cool.
You mentioned a phrase earlier. Does it really need blockchain? What about this model is like taking advantage of that sort of concept? Like
Okay.
if you said like that the other ones, the ones from like
Mhm.
3 or 4 years ago were sort of creating these things that didn't really use it. What's different about what you're doing that's really taking advantage of blockchain on the other side?
Mhm. So we're allowing users to stake tokens in their favorite creator to earn an APY, and the creator would also benefit from the total value locked from these staking pools. And these staking pools also act as the foundation for the content regulation factor, which is what we call the proof of content. And the smart contract underlying that holds up these staking pools has to rely on a blockchain. It doesn't exist without a blockchain, right? So I think for us that is a necessity. And on the NFT aspect, um, to have a truly verifiable, trustless vehicle to transfer this ownership of a potentially, I guess, money-making slash access token is also more ideal than just some centralized database with a code that says this is yours now or this is yours now, right?
The reason I'm kind of getting into this is I noticed that as one of the sort of conditions to create a to become a creator on the platform, you have to go through a know your customer process. Um, can you kind of elaborate on what that would look like, and does that discourage sort of content creators in a way by having to put their identity out there like that?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. So the reason why we have that in the first place is um, we are a Web3 platform that allows users to log in with their Phantom wallet, for example, and that means they are anonymous. And allowing anonymous users to be posting content is generally not a very good idea, just because there's no consequence, right? Like if you get banned on one address, you can create another.
Yeah.
So KYC is quite important, but however, we also acknowledge the fact that, especially in the crypto space, users are not happy with giving out their personal data, especially when it comes to names and IDs, stuff like that. So we're not going to do that. And instead, we're going to do a proxy KYC via other existing social platforms. For example, we can do Twitter verification where we give you a code and you can just go to Twitter, your actual account, and post that code in a tweet, and then we can verify that that was you, and you can delete that tweet, right? So that way, Twitter indirectly has done the KYC for us of that, and the fact that you are a real person that owns that particular Twitter account.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is certainly a way to go around that, because I think people whether they realize how maybe insecure or whatever their like existing one is, there's some sort of comfort level there, right? Like you see this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about privacy issues on Facebook, right? And they're comfortable with Facebook for whatever reason, even if even if it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, I mean, the outage yesterday, there's this rumor that said Facebook had a hack that leaked a lot of personal information, and that's why they had to shut it down. It's not confirmed, but it's just a rumor. However, like that could definitely happen, so we definitely don't want that to be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean the whole debacle about Web 2 and decentralization, and how Web 3 basically, like a lot of people were making a tweet that Ethereum was still on, Solana crypto is still on compared to Facebook, which is obviously down. Um, Going forward, in terms of secondary markets and stuff, will you guys have built into the platform, because you do say marketplace functionalities, will you guys
Mhm.
try to foster a secondary market within the platform, or how will that look like?
Yep. We are currently building our own marketplace. At the moment, we're not using Metaplex, but in the future, we definitely might consider. But at the moment, we're just building our own, and we will foster a secondary marketplace for the NFTs on our platform, right? So the creators, uh, so we do have our beta up, and the creators all have their Genesis NFT in their wallets, but currently, it's still not being sold because our marketplace feature is still um, excuse me, in the oven, and it's gonna come out sometime this month. And after that, people will be able to trade these Genesis NFT and become this, special user of that particular creator.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I think one thing you mentioned is in one of your documents on a roadmap. I think you mentioned a lottery system. I'm quite interested in as to what that is.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's just a way to gamify the system a little bit. It's definitely not one of the essential functions, but every time a premium content is unlocked, the user also gets a lottery ticket, the person that pays to unlock it, right? So if I paid $5 to unlock um, a fitness program, then I would also receive a lottery ticket that gives me a chance to actually get airdropped more like tokens back. It's just a way to gamify the system, so every step along the way, users feel like it's more fun and it's more engaging.
Just to sort of expand on sort of future development and like what you're looking for in the coming quarters here. You mentioned a mobile app development as well. I know from sort of my experience, it seems like most sort of NFT natives seem to use a PC wallet as sort of their standard setup. Is there a real push
Mhm.
there to try and be kind of early to a mobile app to unlock that
Yep.
larger market?
Yep, I think there's twofold. I think first of all, the industry is getting more and more ready for mainstream adoption. I think we're already seeing that with like, for example, El Salvador has like half of their adult population owning the Bitcoin app, right? And the infrastructure is available right now is also getting more and more user friendly. Like there are, for example, on Solana, there's Slope Finance that has a mobile friendly wallet that can actually allow you to use Web3 applications on your phone. I think this is definitely going to become a trend where the future, I guess, like the projects coming out in the next bull run or something, they're going to be mobile friend. There might even be like pure mobile web-free projects coming out, I think. So I think that's a trend that could be happening now. And second of all, for us specifically, we are building a social media. And a social media currently, I think 80% of the use cases are done on the smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't remember the last time using Instagram on the web. So that's the main reason that we are driving a mobile app development in this current time frame.
Is there any other sort of upcoming either functionality or features that you're excited about building in, but it just that you're not doing now for sake of scale or anything like that?
I think, as with any startups, our goal is really to ship frequent and ship fast, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
did launch our beta. We're going to launch our marketplace. We have a something called an initial NFT offering launchpad that will come out soon as well on the 7th. So listeners do pay attention. And so, and we're pretty excited about the upcoming development this month. And also in the future, something that we are particularly interested in building is, I guess, a series of features to simplify the user experience. We want to make our Web3 application feels as Web2 as possible. So what I mean by that is currently, if you want to use a Web3 application, you do have to go through like private key seed phrases and then understanding NFTs, um, being able to bridge across different networks with smart bridges and such. And for a lot of mainstream users, I think that is a very, very big friction. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest friction that stops a lot of the users from actually getting into crypto or even like its projects, right? So how do we do that? One thing we can do is supporting fiat currency or simply just stable coin. So we already had a conversation with Circle, the company behind USDC, to see if they can support fiat payment gateways. And we also advised to talk to FTX Pay as well, but like that's just an idea. And on the other hand, the wallet integration as well. If you look at Audius, right? So Audius is this music streaming application built on Solana. basically SoundCloud on Solana, right? And they have this wallet technology called Hedgehog Wallet, which allows users to handle a wallet without even touching a private key or seed phrase. And I think that's beautiful from a UX point of view. I'm not sure about how they handle security aspect because ultimately it sounds to me like it's a custodial wallet, but I think that's a very good step forward to getting mainstream users adoption.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very interesting perspective regarding mainstream adoption and different kind of strategies around that. I mean, one thing I'm always interested in is, personally, is, how does this project, or how does one specific token interact with all the other tokens? Um, and you mentioned Metaplex, and you mentioned Solana in general and interoperability. I mean, like, in going forward in the future, like, what kind of integrations do you think your platform will have? Um,
Mm.
yeah.
I guess integration between platforms and technologies, that probably we can go on for days about that. But in terms of integrating with different tokens, now that's kind of a different conversation. So on our platform at the moment, we're supporting our own token called Like, and the idea is the word like is very overused and I guess saturated in current social media landscape. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So we kind of want to bring a new meaning to it. And in terms of platform-wide integrations, we're trying to get more partnerships with other um, projects in a similar space, right? Like Audius, we're very interested to talk to, and probably different infrastructure plays. For example, wallet integrations, cross-chain integrations, like for example, we do take data from social media platforms into our smart contract. So we do need to employ our oracles. At the moment, Chainlink doesn't support Solana integration, but that's something that we look forward to as well. If not, then we're going to build our own. And then probably some on-chain randomness function for the lottery tickets. Um, and for our INO Launchpad, so I haven't really talked about that. It is a side feature that we recently invented. It's called Initial NFT Offering. And the idea is basically to allow projects to raise funding through pre-selling their NFT instead of their fungible tokens. Like imagine if Axie Infinity can raise, say $2 million from pre-selling their Axies, build their platform, and then do their ICO at a much higher valuation, right? So that's a launchpad that we're building as well. So we're looking forward to partnering up with different projects that wants to start building on Solana as well.
I've actually been seeing people sort of bootstrap that same sort of model, just using their own community and everything about doing like a founder series NFT or like a like a purely collectible NFT as a way to sort of fund development other than more utility side of one. So it's
For sure,
interesting
yeah.
space.
Yeah, I think on that note, um, a lot of there's a lot of NFT drops these days, right? I think on Solana alone, there's almost like 200 upcoming drops currently. So to all the listeners, be careful of like how you audit these projects and look at if they have those founders, if they have a legit artist, and if their roadmap is actually doable, stuff like that. Yeah, just a word of caution.
No, yeah, that's deeply appreciated, and yeah, like, there's so many different projects going on. It's very hard to keep track of it all, and I think that's one of the reasons why we kind of wanted this podcast, is just kind of put, like, map out the kind of the ecosystem, and help a lot of people in that aspect. Going back to the like token, in terms, like, could you just walk us through the tokenomics of the token, please?
Sure. So the token is used for a few features. Number one is you can stake it in the creator staking pools. So every creator has their own pool, right? And so this is the token we use to reward users for staking. And creators for being active as well. And this staking pool also leads to like our consensus mechanism on content regulation. And second of all, this is a token we use to transact on our marketplace. So users can buy Genesis NFT of different creators and also content NFTs and unlocking these NFTs using the like token. And also this token can be used for donation to our creators. Just very similar psychology behind Twitch streamers with their donations as well. And we might be rolling out different side features like paid DM. So you can attach a token to your direct messages to your favorite creator, and they would only receive it if they respond, right? So these are some of the features that we would use for our like token. And from a more, I guess, uh, mathematical or tokenomics point of view, the ultimate assumption, right? I think most platforms are making. We do learn a lot from Axie Infinity's tokenomics as well because their play to earn model is very similar. We actually call ourselves create to earn. So the underlying assumption is that the inflow of token is going to be one day bigger than the outflow of tokens. That is the only way to become long-term sustainable and have a um, tokenomics that would hold up and not be hyperinflationary. So what I mean by that is the revenue is actually very important, and I think most projects are sort of not mentioning that at least in their presentations or their website. But the business model of getting back the tokens or any form of value should be bigger than the amount of tokens you give out, right? Otherwise, it's just like you're just giving out and you're gonna lose over the long term.
Yeah, I mean, I think one interesting example was Steemit, where their kind of like token was it was too volatile, and I think tokenomics and social media are very very important to kind of just like think through and explore. So that was that kind of question. So I mean, in terms of like buying and hodling the like token, do you incentivize that or do you disincentivize that? What's your kind of take on just buying and holding instead of using?
Um, First of all, I think there's no financial advice here. So I'm just trying to describe like how we envision users to use this token, right? So I think users of the platform can support their favorite creators by staking like tokens in their creator staking pools. And we have a rather sophisticated APY calculation behind the scene that takes into account like how active the creator is and also the platform-wide limit on how much token we can actually give out. So we would envision our users to be buying these like tokens, staking their favorite creators, and hence supporting them that way, and also using these like tokens to actually um, buy and trade NFTs on our marketplace.
And the NFTs, can you buy in like token or can you buy, with Solana?
At the moment, we're supporting just like token to start, but I think in the future we might consider supporting Solana and also stablecoin.
Anything that you wanted to address, Leon? Was there anything that you wanted to try to call more attention to, kind of thing?
Um, I think I think we covered a lot of bases really. All the questions that investors tend to ask, you guys have asked. So nothing much from my side.
No, yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. We've gone very rapid fire, and we're just kind of like mindful of time. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like your kind of inspiration behind this, like there's loads of opportunities to work on loads of different projects right now. Like, why did you work on this specifically?
Okay, so I think a couple reasons. Number one is this isn't my first startup, and my last startup was a fitness betting platform where we allow every users to post their current fitness goal, and other users can bet if this person's going to make it or not. And that is sort of in the social space as well. So just kind of always been interested in this space about how people interact on the internet, how communities are formed. how different niches exist. Like there are so many different types of communities existing on the interwebs, not just on Instagram, Facebook. So I think this is just generally something I'm interested in. And second of all, crypto is another space that I've been rather, I guess, experienced in. So combining the two, like I figured like a Web3 social media is something that I would like to, have passion to try to build something in.
No, we definitely agree. I think I think Web3 is going to be just going to eat up everything else. But yeah, that's definitely cool. And in terms of your team, out of curiosity, like where did you find your team?
Oh, they're actually quite distributed. So not to brag, but we do want to find the best people. And so the first thing I found out was job postings never work. And so I DM'd a lot of people over, I think, course of a month. And so our CTO, Dan, he is from Mexico City, and he was the senior dev at Binance. Before Binance, he was at Dash. Um, our CMO, Mojo, he was also like CMO of a different, rather prominent project, and he did a lot of like NFT drops for big name celebrities as well. And then we have a team of 4 blockchain engineers now, and most of them can code in both Solidity and in Rust, because like Solana is based on Rust, and it's not a very, very popular language. We also have 2 UX/UI designer. One of them was the senior UX/UI designer from Binance, Damir, and the other one, Woody, he was the senior UX/UI designer from OKEX. So we have a growing team. We're currently trying to build up our marketing team as well. So yeah, we are based on like basically around the globe. We have people in Bosnia, in LA, in Mexico City, in Portugal, in Japan, a few in Hong Kong, where I'm based as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Web3, we're definitely seeing more and more remote and distributed teams, and um, I just going back to tokenomics. You mentioned on your slide, you're gonna have a 10.29% for the token sale, but you also got 35% for reserved for community. Like, what's the kind of difference in terms of allocation, and
Yeah.
why that kind of decision?
Okay. So we wanted to raise, uh, I guess the exact number I shouldn't disclose, but I guess we wanted to raise money for development. Actually, I think that was public information. So we raised $2 million with the seed and private round and public round. So that was the first 10.29% of the token total supply. And that's going to private investors and also like public investors from Radium and Gate.io. And then for the community tokens, the 35% you just mentioned, that actually has a 60-month vesting period, and it's reserved for rewarding our community for staking and for influencers to be on board as well. So that's a completely different use case. It's for rewarding our users.
I just noticed on your Twitter earlier this morning. I guess it wasn't early this morning that you posted it. That's just when I noticed it. But
Mhm.
you had 100 access codes for your first beta launch, and those have been filled. Is there a time frame for when you'd be bringing on more users?
Yeah, so what you saw there is probably a few days ago, right? We released 100 codes a few days ago, and it was filled out in like the first 15 minutes. And we yesterday just released another 1,000 codes. We want to do it step by step just to make sure that the platform is performing, at its 100%. We don't want to like overscale right away. So right now the 1,000 codes are actually all filled up as well. And I think platform wide, we have around 6 to 7 million tokens staked already. And yeah, I think we're just gonna slowly grow from there and probably do a public release, like remove the access code in the near future.
Cool, that sounds good. In terms of like anything that you want to plug, because like we said, we've more or less covered everything that we wanted to cover. Is there anything that you want to bring up, or is there anything that you want to, like, while we're here, promote?
Yeah, I guess like any other project, do stay tuned on our Twitter, Telegram, Discord, and we are doing our initial NFT offering next, launching on the 7th. That's actually like 2 or 3 days later, and the mechanism there is we're going to sell 10,000 of our NFTs. Our NFT is designed by an animator that used to work at Toei Animation, who did Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. If you guys know what that is,
Yeah.
it's an anime series, and so the total raise would be about 10,000 Solanas. We're gonna use all of that raise, 10,000 souls, to buy back our own token from the secondary market and inject that back into the staking pool reward, um, so to benefit our early adopters. Yeah, stay tuned for that, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, I know quite a lot of people in the NFT, flipping market. So yeah, I'll definitely pass that along. That's great alpha. Cool. Yeah, I think we're good to wrap up. Unless Pat, you had any more final thoughts?
No, that's great, Leon. It's been a pleasure being able to speak to you here today.
Same, likewise. Pleasure to be here.